we're good to go now. I'm calling us to order. I need a motion on the minutes.
I move that we accept the minutes from last time.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. In favor, say aye. I'm an aye. David? Lenny?
Aye.
Linda? Marilyn? We're all aye. All right, we're moved and seconded and improved. We're good to go. Ready for the data and the financial report.
Okay. Let's look at the financial one first, and I gave you an extra piece of paper under the financial, because Joe Don ran the financial for me. And, there were some items on here that were not encumbered. The city yesterday had told us that we were not supposed to do any more POs unless they were for emergency purchases. And I had like 7 projects in the works because of POs I was going to be writing, because I was getting the bids from the vendors and things, because I have state aid funds and other things that need to be done. So I just kind of hand wrote this out, but things that are encumbered that are not on the sheet, because the sheet shows our supplies had $1,404.74. Actually, after I got everything encumbered out, I encumbered out $1,119.08. So
does that mean we have about?
it means we have about $300 left,
Okay.
probably in that. Okay, or maybe not quite 300, probably about 250. Property maintenance was the same way. We have encumbered out about $1,761 out of that, and we shouldn't run into any maintenance. If we run into some maintenance, it would be something like air conditioning, so hopefully we won't run into that. Out of our dues and subscriptions, and out of our periodicals, our dues and subscriptions, so we pulled out $930, and then our periodicals were $600, and that's for one of the electronic services, and we combined it between those two accounts. That pays for electronic service we offer. And then out of our special library fund, which does not show up on the sheet at this point in time, we hope to change that for next year. I encumbered out $1,212.75, and that was money we had left in state aid. And my state aid money has to be used before the end of the fiscal year, and so I will be able to ride out of that account. I still have a little bit of money, and the state is late getting us money, and we have another $900 that should be coming to us in 2 weeks, and they want it spent before the end of the fiscal year.
So they give you 2 weeks to spend it.
We're hoping we have 2 weeks to spend it. But anyway, I mean, that would work well because we're actually waiting on a book order to send right now, and so we will do that for a book order, or if another expense comes up in the meantime that would be appropriate, like if we have problems with our computers, state aid money can be used to pay that type of service. So we have a cushion in our account. But our difference from our department rather than some other departments is if we turn back more than, I think it's 5% of our budget to the city that we have control over, we lose our state aid funding, because they say you don't need the state aid funding because your city gave you plenty of money. So it's not like we purchase things that we don't need, but we need to be careful with the budget. And our department runs a little bit different. Our philosophy here, we're able to have it a little bit different in that street department doesn't know what their expenses are going to be. If they have a piece of equipment breakdown, if they have potholes that appear due to weather, they just have to run and spend the money that they have to spend. But we're kind of set in our perimeter, so we try to stay within our budget. We try to not ever go over our budget. We try to keep a balanced budget, just like we would with anything else.
I don't think they're too careful about the potholes.
You know, but they have
overwhelmed.
expenses that they don't ever know that come up, and so we try to remain within that, and so that's why at the very end here I have some projects planned, but I haven't been able to use that money because what if we need it or something else that shows up? So I feel comfortable with the budget. I appreciate the fact that I talked to Joe Don and said I have projects in works. If I get my POs in tomorrow, is that okay? And he said that yes, it was. So I do appreciate
Good.
that. So
Now I understand what that is.
I don't know if there's any other questions beside that you would have out of the budget. We will have money left over in our travel and training. funds, which are good, because that way if we do have some extra expenses, Jordan can move those into categories if we have something like, we know we're gonna need money for some utilities, and things like that, so.
Are we gonna need to look at transferring some of that into other areas anyway, since the computer training thing is
Right,
available?
we have, the new budget that has been put forward,
Mm-hmm.
does not have anything in our training. We combine that with our travel. So we tried to get
Okay.
that lined out, and we tried to tweak it as much as it was possible to get that every year. That's what's good about this kind of budget, because you actually can see where that money, better than some other budgets, of where maybe some years you didn't have enough and some you did, so we kind of can move those funds. And so that's what we did in moving that. So, and I know that they were supposed to be talking about the budget last night, but I don't know kind of what happened there. So are there any questions as far as financial statement goes? If not, we can move on to the statistical, if that's okay. And our numbers have, we've been really pleased. Usually the month of May, with school getting out, kind of is a transition month for us. And we've had a lot of people in the library. If you look at our checkouts, they have gone up in about every category. Our ebook checkout has gone up. So we've been pleased with that. We have 36 new people come in May. We've progressively here in June, which we don't have those put on here. We have had new people that have never been in the library before coming in and getting cards. Now that doesn't mean they're necessarily new to Alva. It could be maybe they're just finding us. Sometimes that takes a while for the word of mouth to get around. So we're pleased about that. And
Have any of these, like the women's group with that new health thing, brought people in that maybe have not thought of us before?
I think the summer reading program has brought in a few. I think the Mommy and Me program that is being run by the volunteers in the community, the word of mouth is starting to really spread about that program. And I think that's brought in some young moms that we've seen. I don't know, I'm hoping possibly that the program that will be starting tomorrow with the,
Wednesday.
with the Eat More, Move More.
Yeah.
We're
Eat
hoping
better,
maybe,
move more, something
yeah,
like
that
that.
may bring a few in, we don't know, but
On
a
the
lot of
other end of
those
the
may
spectrum.
be people that are already, our patron, maybe they're not active, maybe they will get more active, with that, so we'll kind of see, but so far that, it's been like, basically, a lot of them have been families, with kids
Cool.
that are coming in, so.
Yeah. There was a big jump in numbers.
Yeah, so that's good. We like that. That shows we're still.
When you're adding new materials, I noticed you've added about 50 things-ish. What sorts of things are you looking at to add? Are those books? Are those
Okay, I put which category are you looking at?
new adult materials?
Okay, those are basically
What kinds of things?
those are basically going to be books, because all the other things like our audios will go under audio. So when you see that, that is going to be a printed material of some type that we're barcoding and putting in. And we did a push last month to really look at some of our nonfiction. We buy a few nonfiction every month, but we kind of wait on our nonfiction and see what our need is as far as informational books, and buy those things a couple of times a year. So we kind of try to keep it high. And then also we had quite a few donations. It seems like spring is when everybody cleans house, and so we've had a lot of book donations come in. And so some of those are donated books that we've been able to go in, and even if we're replacing a book with a donated book, it will show up as a new material, because it
Okay.
runs through our process system, so there's no way for us to differentiate that out. If we're possibly replacing a book, it will show up as a new material.
And the one you replaced, if it was toast and
It will go down
under
to,
lost and destroyed?
it will go under
I
lost
believe
and
it.
destroyed. And right now, we're kind of got those in some boxes, and we kind of do that don't necessarily do that when we first pull that book out, collect out of rotation. We usually try to reuse the same barcode and information, so it stays consistent with our circulation, so we can see how many times it's been checked out. But it's kind of a process. Mandy does our basically our deleting of our materials, and our materials, it's not only in our system, but she has to go in and delete them on the OCLC nationwide database that we're part of with our interlibrary loan. So it's a two-prong type of thing, so we usually wait till she gets, 25, 50 books, and then she'll sit there and get in those programs and get them deleted out.
Okay. Okay. Things have been really popping around here, haven't they?
It has been busy. It's a good thing. We usually don't expect, we usually hit that more in June, so it's kind of nice and fun that it hit in May, but it's been a little different for us. Our fine report and our expense report remains pretty consistent. One thing I don't know why it's taken me this many years to realize, we have what the costs are and what we took in. We do not have a total then of like the actual money that we took over to City Hall, which would be the one subtracted out of the other. I don't know if that's anything you would want. It makes any difference, but,
I think we can probably figure it out.
it's just kind of, because this is always like, I have to sit there and subtract that out to make sure that it balances with what I take over every month. It doesn't make City Hall any difference, but it does make the numbers look a little different, so. Any questions?
It almost makes a week's worth of the electric bill defined.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Steve is still caught up in his meeting. How about we just skip over that, and if he shows up here later, we'll slip it
Yeah,
in.
you probably will.
when he
He
gets
did, like I said, mention, I want to get it before that it said, he did say that Brenda Joseph had been approved to do another term. Or had been appointed to do another term. This is the word, is appointed to.
Reappointed,
They're
yes.
starting it today. You said they were going to what you said, it's starting today.
They are, yeah.
It's gonna be such a
They're
big
up there.
deal.
Let's go
should
up
have
there
taken
and check
pictures.
on them and make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But did he say maybe he was going to try to get
That's
here,
great.
or?
Okay, they delivered the materials
cupcakes.
yesterday for the library, for the start of the library with. And in fact, if you saw White Pickup parked underneath the portico, that is him. He's probably been here since about 8 o'clock this morning. He thought the crew was gonna be here a little earlier, but they've gotta get the lift. They've got a big lift that has to come, and I'm not sure where it comes from. So they're, I think, waiting. They're gonna get it here, but they'll be starting today. The plan is to start today on the roof. He is thinking that hopefully his goal, would be that he would like to get it finished by Friday.
Whoa.
But, I mean, a lot of that's gonna depend when they get up there. But they got the materials and they got the crew, and that is their goal, that if they can get it finished by Friday, he would like to. So,
Well, he's paying for room and board for those guys probably while they're
Yeah.
here, so they'll hustle right along. They have a good week for it though. It's supposed to be
Yeah.
good weather.
good weather, I mean, it's gonna get mighty hot for them up there, so.
They're
he's-
roofers. They
yeah.
should be used to that.
He said it may get, we're not gonna have any parking anywhere along the back or along the side of the library here. Front, he said, should be no problem. It may be, if you come in during this week, it may be noisy, because he said he remembered when he had roofed the portico a number of years ago, that the electrical outlet on the side of the building over there, he didn't think worked. And so they're gonna hoist a generator up onto the top of the roof. He said that's pretty typical, what they do a lot of places. So there may be some noise from that generator. And I told him when we could.
Can't be worse than the poor bank people over there.
That's caught, pretty much ongoing. So anyway, we're very excited about that. I appreciate all of you that came by and, gave us your opinion on the roof chart color. We did, a consensus of everything. We just laid out a chart and did it. And the one that won the consensus was the Dove Gray. And that's the one that Ty, after he got back here, said that he would have picked because it matched the metal on the front of the building. So, I appreciate everybody coming by, giving their opinions. But at this point in time, that's what they ordered.
Good. All right. We're ready to hear about carpets in the magazine and young adult.
We actually had ordered carpet that we've had since last November, and it's to go in the YA area and the magazine area. It was just purchased kind of as a stopgap measure, because when we finally can do the floors, we'll probably do something different. But then we started having all the water problems, and those are the areas it leaks, and so we didn't want to put the carpet in. So it's been nice, they've had it in storage for us. And so we're excited that that's going to be a project we're hoping in the next month goes in. We're trying to work right now because since we're getting the roof put on, we need to do some work with our floors. Our floors need to be stripped and waxed again. And so we're going to try to coordinate that, even though they'll be discolored, they will be shiny and clean. And we're going to maybe try to get that done before we put those carpets in.
Is the carpet, is it like an area rug that lays there, or
No,
is it an
will-
actual install?
It will be an actual install.
Good.
It'll be an actual putting it down. We didn't want any loose edges.
Yeah, somebody would trip on it.
Yeah. And it'll have the binder edge, like that plastic binder edge,
Mhm.
that they put down again, so
Mhm.
we won't have any tripping or so.
How big an area are you covering? I know the periodicals, does it go all the way?
It goes to where the area is now, of where the carpet is there in that magazine
Oh, okay.
area. And in the same way, it closes it in the YA section. We had debated about putting, trying to put some where the computers were, and decided that was not, probably a good thing with the static electricity and with people coming in to use a computer real quick and maybe having mud on their, and dirt on their shoes, that it was just way easier to maintain that with a new tile. At first we thought maybe for noise purposes it would be good to have it back there, but so far that area has stayed. I mean, people get back into it and it's.
And what are the chairs like? I've forgotten in front of your computer. Are they rolly chairs, or are they just chair chairs?
They're not rolling chairs. They have kind of gliders, on
That
the
would be
bottom,
hard on
plastic
carpet
gliders.
too,
It would be hard on the carpet,
and hard to move the chairs.
and we're kind of concerned with, getting rolling chairs at our computers for a couple of reasons. Number one, just for safety factor, if somebody would sit down and it went out from underneath them. A lot of our patrons are not used to those. Number two, I think we're just putting temptation in kids' ways. You have rolling chairs, and it's just what happens, so why set them up?
And it's not just the middle schoolers
No,
either.
no, it's my students. I had my desk chair stolen a couple of
Yeah,
times.
It's just
Like they can't wait to get in a wheelchair.
And we have a wheelchair at church, and we have
Kids that play in
Kids
it.
will get in the foyer, and everybody that really needs it will sit there on the bench and laugh at them, because the kids are popping wheelies in the foyer, but it entertains everybody, so it's great. So anyway, so that's why we don't,
Yeah.
we don't have the chairs that will roll and move.
Okay.
So we're excited at least to be moving forward, doing some cosmetic things like that in the library, which we think will really help them, but would not cost a lot of funds. And that carpet's already encumbered out, it's already in last year's budget, even with installations in last year's
There's
budget.
the lift
So
thing.
there is the lift truck.
Oh, look
That's
at
the
that.
first
Yeah.
bunch of materials they're putting up.
Yeah.
So
Looks like a bunch of wallboard.
it's a specialized kind of,
If it's a little insulation barrier, that'll be helpful.
It will, and it's also, it's fairly lightweight, which is good, and that's why they weren't having to remove the whole roof off of it. They're just having
I
to
saw
remove
that
the
guy
loose
outside,
Mm-hmm.
wondered why he was hanging around.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw him too. It was
He's
like-
skeptical.
He came here yesterday morning, there was a big semi parked in front of
Glad
it.
it
Looked
was
like
out
he
there.
came to
And
do
I told him, I said,
research.
you have 45 minutes, and then 80 kids are gonna sit on the library, and he's like, oh my gosh, this forklift had broken, and they were having to find another one, so.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but it worked out, and so we're excited.
All right. Okay. Actual physical proof. Take a picture, Flexible. Please. Okay.
What was happening?
Board election.
Okay, July is when we hold the board elections for the chairman position and for the secretary position. So, people be thinking if
And summer reading program.
Yes.
How did those 80 kids like their program?
It went well. We didn't have, we have like about 103 kids, I think, enrolled, which we've got big classes because of that. We have 3 classes. And,
It's bigger, isn't it?
yes, it's bigger than what it's been before. And, so we had a really good turnout for our, the 2 morning. We combined, Mad Science was here from, Edmond, which is always popular. And, we combined the 2 morning classes together in one, and we had a really good turnout for that. We ran into not a problem, but just a fact that with the afternoon program, our numbers were smaller than what we expected, but there's some camps going on in town. And so we're quite aware when there's basketball camps and other things going on, Bible schools, that those won't count the numbers, and that's fine. That's why we have our program set up the way we do, that a child doesn't have to be here every single time, because we know if they're doing a sport or something, if they miss a practice, they may not be on the team. So, we're aware of that situation. But everything was really well received, you know, it went off well, so. if
You have
time-
enough help?
I think we do, we have some, I believe there are some, we have some kids that have always helped us, and then there are some moms. And then this year, some of the, girls that belong to the Rainbow, organization here in town are doing community service, and they're kind of helping with the Gallup and Bolt program, if I did that over at the school. And so it's working well because they can come over here and help us and then go over to the school. So I think we'll be set up with plenty of help, and the help that we need now, is more a type of, just being there for the kids. I mean, I guess a term that some people would use, but doesn't really apply to us, is crowd control. But it's just, so if you have a child that, you know, doesn't feel real comfortable and needs somebody by them, or, you know, needs something, they're kind of there to provide help. And then, of course, when the days we do crafts, it will help with that.
Mhm.
So,
If somebody needs help with focus or
right.
somebody
Focus
else.
or
or just-
you know, getting where the bathrooms are, or
Mhm.
whatever, that type of situation. So,
How young is the youngest?
I
Five?
think 4.
Yeah.
And if they haven't been in a preschool or some kind of situation when they've been around kids and been away from a parent or grandparent, we ask for that parent or grandparent to stay until they know the child feels secure in the situation. And so we usually have probably, I would say, 8 to 10 moms that are hanging around anyway, just because they like to be part of the community. So we're
Okay.
excited about that, and the Mommy and Me program, I think, is going to gain a lot of participants. And so we're excited about that, and we're doing some things with them in conjunction that tie into our summer reading program.
Are they using the kits and those kinds of things? Or are they just doing their own activity?
They basically do their own activities, and then we purchase some things that kind of fit in with those type of things. But they basically kind of know their program and what they like to do. And a lot of theirs, of course, with the age of children they have, from, you know, infant up to about 4, an important part of that when you get groups together is the repetition. You know, they do everything and kind of do the same activities, and even do some of the, you know, every other time, maybe some of the same books and some of the same songs, because that's how children learn when they're first learning that patterning, is kind of the same thing over and over, and introducing new things, but yet it's a pretty set program, but they don't have to vary it like we do when you get children older.
Mm-hmm. That's the very reason I was not a preschool teacher.
Yeah, see, that's the reason I liked it.
Different strokes.
Yeah, different strokes, so.
All right. Anybody else have a question? State aid then.
We did find out that we will be receiving, the 10% portion of their state aid funds that they always go back every year, and we didn't know with the state funding this year if that was going to be there. So they did tell us that they are gonna be sending it, they haven't given us a specific amount, but if it's the 10% that we usually get, it would be around $900. So we're just kind of waiting for that, and, I think
That's
it'll.
the money you have to spend
Mhm.
immediately.
They would like for us to. Now, what we can do is they said that they will have a process that we could hold it over to next year. But when we do that, then that usually causes us issues on our report that we give back to the state every year, because we have to do an annual report that's different for the state. And it's showing where you spend all your money, not only state aid funds, but your city funds. And it's done, of course, on a computer. And if you have an abnormality that you didn't spend or you didn't do something, the computer program just kicks you out. I mean, it's a process, and then you have to go in and you have to figure out how you can put your explanations in the wording that the computer's gonna recognize. So, if we need to, we can hold it over. It's just they would recommend, and if I can anyway do it, I would prefer to get it spent, just because it will save me probably a couple of hours of work on that subject.
Spend it.
It's probably not hard to spend money.
Well, I mean, I think we can always, what I said, we probably use it for a book order, because what we can always do is we can encumber it. And, I can encumber it as this year's funds, like say to Baker Taylor, who's where we buy the portion of our books. And I can encumber that and say, I'm going to encumber a book order of $900, if that's what the amount is. And then actually that book order will not come to us till July, but we will get it ordered beforehand. Because we can pre-order.
Well, as long as the PO's dated in June,
Right,
you're good, right?
Right. So, it's just like I said, we have a problem just thinking we need to spend money because money's sitting there. We wanna make it for something that we have planned as part of our plan, so. Anyway,
Okay.
so hopefully that money will show up, so, but if it doesn't, we'll be okay.
All right. And director's report.
The only thing I really have to go ahead and mention is that Eat More, Move More, class will be being offered here. I believe it's a 12-week long class. Also this week we are hosting through OSU Extension, we're hosting a babysitting workshop. And, we are hosting and getting a lot more, requests for our meeting rooms, for a variety of different things. So, that's good for us to know that is a need, and with that idea, we're gonna try to also get our genealogy room next door set up, not only as a genealogy room, but, if we need to use it for a meeting room, because we're not typically having, people that are coming into genealogy work now basically are not needing so much to use that room. That's where we house things, but it's not like we have to keep it open for people doing genealogy. A lot of people that do that are doing it on our computers now. So, anything. The other thing we have, Mandy Shahans, our assistant director, is going to, the very first part of July, be attending a meeting. We're changing our webpage. Our webpage has changed. If you go into our home site to a different program, and she'll be going down for training with that. That's up from the Department of Libraries hosts our website, and we can go in and make changes to it, but they pick it and host it. And so she's gonna go to training so we can then go in now and personalize it and make our weekly or monthly changes to it. Right now it's kind of static, and we have to contact them to have them make changes to it. So we're glad about that. And then also, just to tell the board, I will be out of town on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of this week. So if you have any questions or need to get in contact with me, I'll be back on Monday.
Okay. Hopefully to a finished roof.
Yeah. Kinda hated it worked out that way for me to go there. But it happens.
Hopefully they'll be.
Yeah, I
no
mean,
issues.
I wouldn't have, that's why I told him, I said, if you have any problems, I'm not gonna probably be able to help you too much. But it is, but.
Crawl up there and solve their problem for them.
Yeah, so,
Maybe not.
yeah, just the fun of getting it on.
I wouldn't even be willing to get up it there, much less.
Yeah. Oh, I guess one other thing I may mention, we had discussed at the time, and I discussed with Ty, if it was possible for us to put like a solar light on the edge of the library, so it could shine onto the flag, on a flagpole. And, he said that would be no problem, but in doing research and talking with people now, they are saying that the solar lights are not working effectively for a flag the size that ours is. That they work well for like the flags that are in individual people's homes, in their yards. So I have checked up with the cemetery, because they had got a light on their flag, but theirs is a hardwired flag, light. And so, I'm gonna probably try to check with the Northwest Electric and see what we could do. There used to be wiring when the library was built, that illuminated the building. But Mr. Ford told me that when they got, that many years ago, when they got the electric bill, it was a huge amount of power to run those lights. They must have been like floodlights. And, so they just disconnected them. Had them. So I don't know if there's any way for us to get that electrical power going on that one or not.
That would be an interesting question.
Where would this light be? Off the roof
Well,
someplace?
no, I don't think if we hardwire it, it would go just straight out here and just be at the base of
Oh,
the
that's
flag.
the base of it.
Right, I was hoping that we could have, some places have them that they're solar powered and they just shine down. But they said when they do that with a flag this size, that all you would do would be get a glow around the very top part of the flag, probably like where the stars of the flag would be hanging, and you can't get the light on down to
You take down the flags at night anyway, don't you?
We don't, because it is very difficult and heavy for us to do, and
Never
we've had a
noticed.
problem.
To be honest with you, I
Well,
never
and
noticed.
we need to check with OG&E, because, the light pole, I believe that there's not working, and always before it shone light, that the flag
Illuminated the flag.
was lit. It wasn't
Mhm.
illuminated, but it was lit to where there was light on the flag. So, I'm gonna be checking with them too to see, what the situation is with that light. But the flagpole, if we could get one, the problem is the way the flags, the ropes wrap. The firemen have come and put a rope on it for a couple of years ago. But that flag is so high up that rope has to be so tight, or when you get winds like we're getting off Oklahoma, it starts pulling that rope and really whipping the flag. And so it has to be down on there real tight, and physically, it's just realistically with us all being women here at the library, it's just impossible for us to be able to pull that to get it tight enough. And then when the firemen got it tight enough, we couldn't get it released. So, the other option is for us to find some other kind of system that would maybe be a crank that they could put to the pole. That would be a crank system, but then we would have the crank thing to turn it to make it tight.
How long does the flag last?
We replace the flag probably about every, depending on weather conditions, about every 4 to 5 months.
Yeah,
It's nylon, isn't it?
something along that.
I would assume it would be something like that. I know that they're made specifically, City Hall buys them for us. And, they're the ones like they use in all the city buildings.
I changed mine once a year.
So, but ours, the problem is these are up so high. This one's up higher than anybody else's. It would be like more like what the post office has, or things like that. And so it gets a lot more of the wind and a lot more of the sun and a lot more of everything else, because there's no shading on it ever. It's up above, where the other ones kind of get a little bit of protection.
They don't fade anymore. They start fading.
This one's kind of has faded a little bit, but not enough yet that it needs to be, I don't think, replaced. Now, I haven't looked at it in the past weeks.
If you get that crank thing,
Don't
it's
put it
kind
through
of
his window,
chain driven,
please.
and I can tell you that
You'll probably want
it
that.
clanks,
We'll
And-
have a continual planking.
and it comes
So
off its
good.
pulley at the top.
Yeah, that's.
I
not
had
gonna
one of
work.
those and we were forever taking the flagpole down because its cable or its chain part had come off of the pulley at the top. Because it has to be, as you say, so tight. And then even a chain will stretch slightly, and that flag pulling with all the wind on it stretches it just enough that
Pull it off.
it pulled off that lip. Maybe we didn't buy an expensive
No,
enough
well, thank
crank,
you. I
but-
mean, no, that makes perfect sense. We would run into the same problem. I mean, for a number of years, the library didn't fly a flag because we had those trees out front, and with those taller trees, we couldn't maneuver the flag. So a flag had not flown here at the library, probably, I think Mr. Brown said, for about 15
A long
years.
time.
15 years until we got those trees cut down and all the red nuts planted. So that's why it's been kind of an ongoing thing of trying to find something that will work, that will look nice.
Well, that constant clanking was,
Well, I think like that wouldn't work. And if it would come off of that pulley, there would be nothing we could, I mean, that would just be a mess. It would be on the ground.
you have to actually lower the flagpole. And ours had a way to do that. It had a hinge on it, sort of. But it was an act of Congress. The fire department had to come and use their ladder thing. It was,
Yeah, 'cause that's what they do, is they actually use their ladder truck.
yeah. Okay. All right. What else have we got?
Nothing.
Nothing? It's time for member comments and et cetera.
Thank you for continuing to do a great job.
Yeah. You've had a busy season. And FYI, if they're weed eating out there, don't park there. If you see they're weed eating, move.
Oh, that's right, you got your window broken.
Yes, we're still in the process of getting fixed. Yes, dealing with the city has been a challenge.
And education.
Yes, well, I've gotten everything done in triplicate, so I'm good to go now.
It's just
I'm getting
it's
fixed.
a strange process that they
Yeah.
have to go to.
Yeah, there is a process. So, anyway, things happen. All right, I'm done if you're done. Okay, call us adjourned.